When the news broke that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were both going to join the Los Angeles Clippers on July 6th of 2019, it broke the hearts of Lakers, Raptors, and every contending team in the entire NBA. It was truly unprecedented for a player in 2019 to keep all of his free agency plans a secret, with no details being leaked to the media throughout any step of the process. So what led Kawhi to make his final decision? What factors played into arguably the best player in the league signing with that other team in Los Angeles? We have never seen a player the caliber of Paul George, with even 2 years remaining plus a third-year player option on his contract, demand a trade, then get moved to his preferred destination literally overnight. And when you think of Kawhi Leonard, bold, loud, calculated, and shrewd are not words that come to mind when looking at him. I mean, the guy barely even talks at all, which is probably why nobody knew what was going on in his head. Now that the Paul George trade and Leonard signing have become official, we're going to take a long, hard look at the timeline leading up to and after the blockbuster move of the summer. We start all the way back on July 18th of 2018, almost exactly a year ago from the day I'm making this video, when Kawhi Leonard was traded along with Danny Green to the Toronto Raptors for DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl, plus some picks. This happened in the aftermath of a dispute between Kawhi and the San Antonio Spurs medical staff over an apparent injury Leonard had suffered while playing last season. The Spurs claimed that he was 100% healthy and in tip-top game shape, while Leonard claimed he still had pain and could no longer go. Long story short, he ended up only playing 9 games that year, and the Spurs ultimately decided to cut ties in frustration. Now, this is the first out of 4 key points that lead to Kawhi ultimately ending up with the Clippers, and we're going to call this first one the trade request. Prior to his departure from San Antonio, even before he was traded, he had requested a trade from the Spurs with his preferred destinations the Lakers, Clippers, and both New York teams. This is what really got the rumor mill churning, as his hometown Los Angeles teams were at the top of the wish list upon exit from the Spurs organization. However, R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich decided that bolstering a rival contender was not the greatest move, especially since they had players that were going to make a deep playoff push with or without Kawhi. So they did the absolutely unthinkable and shipped Kawhi as far from home as possible, up to Canada, for his remaining year of his contract. When Kawhi was originally traded, the entire NBA world thought that as soon as the season ended, he was gone. Many speculated that he would just sit out another season and wait the remaining year until he was a free agent with his injury. But what the Raptors did and what Kawhi decided to do was extraordinary. This leads us to the second point of 4, which is called buying in. And what Kawhi did was go all in on the Raptors and play out the entire season to his maximum potential. While still nursing his injury, he played 60 regular season games and ultimately led the Raptors past the Orlando Magic, Philadelphia 76ers, and Milwaukee Bucks to meet the Golden State Warriors in the finals. Now, regardless of what side you're on, it was obvious that injuries prevented the Warriors from reaching their maximum potential in the finals. But nevertheless, Kawhi and the Raptors won in 6 games, thus capturing the first title in franchise history. Wow. Leonard undoubtedly won the NBA Finals MVP and became one of only a few players to receive Finals MVPs with 2 separate teams, let alone 2 different conferences. The first team was with the Spurs, and then secondly, the Raptors. It was this ultimate achievement that gave Leonard what was seemingly no pressure to stay, as he accomplished what he was sent there to do in winning a title. No matter what was said by anybody, if he chose to leave, nobody could question him and his final decision. Even though Kawhi was there for 1 year, it's arguable that he could be the greatest Raptor of all time. If they don't win another championship, which they're highly unlikely to, you honestly ask yourself the question if they're going to put up a statue outside of Kawhi Leonard. This leads us to point number 3, which is going to be called free agency. Kawhi was expected to meet with the Clippers, Lakers, and Raptors, and it seemed like he'd narrowed his choices down to just those 3 teams. One thing that had leaked from Leonard's camp was that if any details of his free agency meetings, discussions, etc. surfaced to the media, it would be detrimental to that team's chances of signing him. The Lakers and Clippers scrambled to free up cap space to sign him and ended up managing to clear the room. But back to the leaks. Stories started coming out after Kawhi had a phone call with Magic Johnson, and the call practically happened an hour before we had a full transcript of what was said by both people. This was a major mistake, as Magic undoubtedly leaked to his friends in the media details of the phone call, going directly against Kawhi's wishes. People in the media were even speculating that Magic Magic has gone as far to sabotage the Lakers' chances at signing him, as he had left his position as president of basketball operations just months prior. Stories started coming out that Kawhi met with LeBron, Anthony Davis, Jeannie Buss, and other members of the Lakers one-on-one, yet not in a group setting. All of these stories clearly did not help the Lakers' chances and were likely detrimental to them in the long run. If at this point Leonard truly knew he was not going to sign with the Lakers, he could not alienate them, as he required the threat of him going there to leverage what he eventually pulled off, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. The Raptors did not really fare any better. Kawhi actually flew up to Toronto to meet with the Raptors, and stories came out about when he was landing on his plane, where he was being driven to meet with the team, how Drake was involved heavily and even promised to include Kawhi with his OVO record label, and that Kawhi had made demands of the Raptors that they were just not willing to capitulate to. Nobody knew what these demands were, but any basketball fan, after considering the evidence I just presented, could see the writing on the wall from a mile away. There was news helicopters in Toronto following Kawhi's movements at the airport and his arrival at the hotel, which very likely also turned him off of the Raptors. It's obvious that the timing and his location was leaked somewhere, which was again directly against Kawhi's wishes. Now, the funniest thing was that truly nobody had any idea what was going on, because there was no leaks. ESPN's Jalen Rose, who claimed to have this well sourced within Kawhi's camp, went on national television and claimed that he was going to sign a 2-year deal with the Raptors. He even said, quote, "I'm someone who likes to cut once but measure twice." And he made that proclamation on live TV, willing to put his reputation on it. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard claimed that Kawhi was the Lakers to lose and that he was 99% going to the Lakers. Wow. It is obvious that whoever these two were talking to were either not plugged into the situation or just flat out lied. But looking back on it now, it's hilarious to say the least. Throughout the entire process, the 24-hour news cycle media constantly regurgitated different variations of this story, but the truth was nobody really had a clue what was going to happen. But after all that has happened and the dust is settled, we now know the ultimate truth. So here's going to be a timeline from what I have gathered regarding Kawhi Leonard's free agency. I will have sources and references linked down in the description for what I'm about to say, but this leads us to the fourth and final point, called shrewd operator. Kawhi knew that he did not want to play long-term in Canada. You see, in Canada there's a different tax system, and his work pay would also be taxed twice for both countries. He's from California and enjoys warm weather compared to the cold in Toronto. There was also no second superstar on the team to assist him in carrying the load of a franchise. You also are required to go through border security and customs every time you come back from being on the road. Let's just face it, there's a ton of annoying obstacles that come with being an American working in Canada, and that's the way it is for every business professional, regardless of what you do for a living. It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a basketball player, the rules are the same. Him leaving the Raptors was not a shot at Raptors fans, Canada, or anywhere else. It came down to a decision about how he wanted to live his life, and we can't knock him for that. It was obvious that getting back home to California was at the top of his priority list, so that's what he did. It came out that in this time, Kawhi had reached out to Kevin Durant prior to free agency about possibly teaming up in LA with the Clippers. KD was flattered by Kawhi's recruitment attempt, but was likely going to sign with Kyrie and either the Brooklyn Nets or the New York Knicks. Kawhi spoke to many other star players, including Jimmy Butler, but at this time, his sights were set on signing with the Miami Heat. Teaming up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis was largely a last resort for Kawhi, and it was at this point that Kawhi knew if he wanted to join a Los Angeles team, he would prefer the Clippers over the Lakers and wanted that second star to be there with him. If he would have joined the Lakers, it would have been an overwhelming collection of talent and likely tarnished his otherwise pristine reputation. He had the entire NBA world collectively holding their breath for days, and his decision was one that would swing the balance of power in the league. I mean, you literally had role players, veteran players, and teams waiting to waive or sign players based on his decision. The blockbuster Anthony Davis trade couldn't even be completed until the Lakers found out if Kawhi was going to sign with them. This trade, through extension, affected multiple teams in the NBA, not just the Pelicans and the Lakers. So anyways, Kawhi wanted to join the Clippers but needed a secondary star player to go along with him. It It was now that he contacted Paul George of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and here is where things get really interesting. So George had just signed a 4-year deal the year before, and Kawhi instructed him to go to the team's general manager Sam Presti and demand a trade to the Clippers, and George did just that. The Raptors were also in on the news of this, and the Clippers and Raptors battled it out for the Paul George sweepstakes, both offering players from their teams for trades. Presti used both teams to bid against each other for George, and even floated the idea of including Westbrook in the trade as well. It is clear that Leonard told both the Raptors and the Clippers, whoever gets Paul George gets me, but I don't necessarily think that was the case. I feel like he used the Raptors' threat to make the Clippers work harder and faster, which was a very calculated and shrewd move by the fun guy. Amazingly, the Clippers were able to land Paul George for 2 players and a ton of first-round draft picks, and it was once this deal was done that Kawhi announced he was joining with the Clippers. Kawhi had successfully managed to get his preferred co-star to force his way out of an organization he was committed to for the next 3 years and make the Clippers trade away the next 6 years of draft picks along with promising young players to make it happen. Wow. What is amazing about this move is that nobody knew anything about it, and both the Clippers and Raptors kept the news of this under a superficial lock and key, as they did not want to potentially hurt their chances of landing Kawhi. Multiple stories have come out reporting that Kawhi had just been toying with the Lakers all along, which is incredibly likely. He held them up from signing any potential free agents, which ultimately weakened them as a Western Conference rival and stunted them from making any moves while holding the cap space open. It was also reported that Kawhi switched the location of his meeting with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka so he could be closer to meet with Paul George on the same day. Damn. The distance from Westlake Village to El Segundo in California is approximately 1 hour along one of the busiest highways in Southern Cali. This allowed Kawhi to not break his commitment to meet with the Lakers representatives, but still meet with George to tell him to put the trade plans in action. I find it hilarious that if Kawhi really had no intention of signing with the Lakers, he still made 2 of the most important figures in the Lakers organization travel an hour through traffic in rush hour just to cling to a hope of signing with him. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reported just days ago that the Lakers did feel like they got played, and the Kawhi Leonard free agency situation was terrible for them, and they very likely did. But we really need to give credit to the Clippers for pulling off the unthinkable and assembling one of the best teams in the NBA for this upcoming season. Think about it. They've got Lou Williams, Patrick Beverley, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, just to name a few. Both Kawhi and George are arguably 2 of the best defenders in the league, and both complement each other on and off the court very well. Stories have come out claiming that this was Kawhi's mysterious chief advisor, Uncle Dennis, who was the mastermind throughout this entire free agency process while Kawhi just went out and balled. It was very likely Dennis who was communicating with the teams and leveraged them against each other to allow Leonard to arrive in his final, preferred destination. The thing you have to remember is Uncle Dennis is not an agent, therefore he does not necessarily have to confer to the rules set in the collective bargaining agreement for players' agents. Kawhi also is a representative athlete for New Balance, who likely added incentives for Leonard to pick a team in LA, as his shoes would get tons more shine in a glamorous Southern California marketplace. There are likely incentives in his contract with New Balance that he will earn more money based on the amount of shoes that he sells. LA is one of the largest media markets in North America, so the decision was fitting, no pun intended. When you're a professional athlete making millions of dollars through both your NBA salary and athletic endorsements, corporate pressures can be real and money is one hell of a motivator. But the main reason for his decision could just be the fact that Kawhi wanted to return home, be close to his family, and live in the sweet Southern California sunshine. We have to also consider too that Kawhi is a father and he'd want his son to grow up where he did back in Southern California. So that's the story of how Kawhi ended up with the Clippers. Let me know if you think I missed anything. Also let me know in the comments down below, who do you think the best NBA team is for next season, and how do you think Kawhi and Uncle Dennis handled free agency? Do you think he made the right choice in the end? How do him and Paul George fit together? I have included links in the description backing up everything I've said in this video, so if you're interested, there's a ton of great articles to read down below. But either way, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing and check out my 2 other videos relating to Devin Booker's situation with the Phoenix Suns and why I think that the Atlanta Hawks have successfully built a foundation of a championship caliber team in the NBA for years to come. It means a ton to me that you made it this far, and do consider giving the video a like rating as it helps out a lot with the overall growth of my channel. I'm still very new to YouTube and I'm still ironing out kinks in my audio and video settings for my videos, so if you have any constructive feedback, please do leave it down in the comments section below. But anyways, you've been here long enough, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.